YouTube's here, right? All right, we have, what is this? Generaider plants, Loki and the Lopter. Begin.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Huh? What the heck? We're gonna normal summon our Loki into a Maxi. Of course, we have that Ash Blossom to negate. As we now make a Melius reborn from the graveyard, our Loki into a Bangla Lancer. So not only does it bridge our way into the Generaider engine, as we now have a Vala in our hand, where otherwise we did not, we also have a Disruption on top of that. So bridge to the engine and disrupt, I like it. It's a good idea. We're now going to be using the Generaider boss quest to grab from our deck 2 different Generaider cards after revealing and then return a card back in the deck. Now, when the opponent draws a card, the boss stage is going to trigger like crazy. We're going to chain Maxi in addition to it. We are now going to be special summoning any Generaider we want from the deck, which will then trigger the field spell again to fill the field with tokens. We also have the Vala triggering on summon to special summon the Lopter from the hand. Very well done. Token, token, token. So activate a Generaider field spell, then your opponent draws 1. I guess this trap is not so good. And at the moment, we don't really have disruption besides the Bengal Lancer, which we already talked about. Going to be activating triple tactics thrust to add from the deck to our hand any spell or trap, as we now have a Har. Har is going to be able to negate anything. And we have a Lightning Storm, which could only destroy attack position monsters or all of the back row. Triple Tactics talent, the Har will be negating that very likely. And because you add a card from your deck to your hand, we get to force you to discard a monster. As we now negate the ability to take control, you will not be taking control of my Har. Be gone. Beyond this, we just have the Bengal Lancer, and the statue is going to be popping off. We do have Lightning Storm to wipe out the Bengal Lancer. I think Ancient Gear actually wins this duel off of a single Ancient Gear statue. Are you ready? Begin. Lightning Storm, wiping out. Oh, did not get wiped out. The Sunvine Sowing. The Sunvine Sowing going to banish itself to instead protect the Bengal Lancer. Now we're in trouble. We're going to special summon the statue. Ooh, that's the mistake. Isn't this a quick effect? Or is it special summon up again? Oh, it could be normal summoned. So by special summoning this, you return it back, I then normal summon it, then I fully pop off from there. Yeah, that just happened right now. Generaider boss stage is going to be negated by red reboot. Reboot it up, flip down the boss stage. You get to set a trap from your deck, but if we win this turn, it's all over. Let's go, let's go. Come forth, use the statue, tribute to summon itself from the deck. A tanker. Tanker could reborn from the graveyard, reborning our Ancient Gear Dark Golem. We have Imperm in the hand, which is not a Veiler, thus not activatable. We're going to grab an Ancient Gear Fusion plus the Catapult. Catapult going to the graveyard here as we now activate Ancient Gear Fusion using our Dark Golem and 3 materials from the deck. Just like that, we have a Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Completely unaffected by spell and trap cards, can attack every single monster on the field, inflicting piercing battle damage. Ain't no way. Do we have game? Wait, that's not game? Can we attack directly with the tanker? Yes, we can, just like that. Lethal damage. Can't imperm the Ancient Gear Giant, even though the imperm was not activatable because it was set that turn. Holy freaking moly, Ancient freaking Gear. If there's enough bodies on the field, that Ancient Gear Fusion spell will be the way to 1-turn kill. All right, we are, of course, going to force the 1-turn kill deck to go first, which they don't really have good plays. We're not going to even summon the Ancient Gear Wyvern, but with a droplet and imperm, that should likely be enough to thwart the opponent's plays from performing lethal damage, and that's all we need. We got our low-key play into the Dryas. This is where the Imperm is going to very likely negate. Of course it will. Negate the search for the Sunvine Sowing. And now we're not in a good spot, as we just activate the boss stage, waiting for the opponent to draw to then trigger the boss stage. Summon from the deck our Vala. Vala summon the Lopter. Oh, we do have a Forbidden Droplet, negating the Vala from summoning the Lopter. Thus, we have 0 disruption. This is no good. We are super screwed. We had at least a negate and send a monster back to the hand mate within game 1. Now we got nothing. And is Ancient Gear Wyvern plus the Ancient Gear Advance enough to perform lethal damage? We do have Ash negating the activation of adding an Ancient Gear spell trap from our deck to our hand, but then the Ancient Gear Wyvern will perform that exact play. Or we could grab a statue instead. Special summonable if the opponent has more monster than you. Come forth and summon from the deck our Dark Golem. Dark Golem on summon, search our deck for 2 cards, then return a card from our hand. Not return, but discard one of our cards. We're going to discard the Catapult here. And now we're going to Ancient Gear fuse with the Dark Golem. 3 materials from the deck, 4 overall. Come forth and summon. Chaos, Ancient Gear, Giant, 4,500 piercing battle damage, attacking every single body on the field. 3K, 3K, lethal damage. Ancient Gear is the way. Damn. Even when going first, we have the Droplet and Imperm to protect us. Very well done. Let's keep on going. We have Nightmare Throne searching up for our D-Lotus. We do have a Magna Hut for our Form of Disruption. Let's see when and why we use it as we speed this up. Magna Hut only activatable on the opponent's turn if the opponent controls a monster, which they definitely do. This may be an opportunity to use it before they summon their Phantom of Yubel, which would then negate the Magna Hut. And we are also going to be wanting to benefit from the effect of searching our deck for any dragon during the end phase. Come forth and summon. Nope, we're still holding on to that Magna Hut. We ain't using it. Ain't no way. Reborn from the grave. Further Shokan into the Cross Sheep. Now, we know that they're definitely going to make a Phantom of Yubel to trigger the Cross Sheep to Reborn from the graveyard, so let's get Banishing. Banishing from the opposing graveyard the Squirmer instead of a Yubel. The Magna Hut will be searching for a dragon within the end phase. We have Yama searching our deck for the Shavara. Shavara popping the Phantom of Yubel, locking us in a Fiend only. As the field spell grabs the Spirit of Yubel to then summon it onto the field, as we then make a Soul of Rage. Further Shokaning into a double monster negate Apollo USA mate. Come forth and summon a Phantom of Yubel as we simply just draw into a Druiswarm search through the Magna Hut as we banish the Yama from the opposing player's graveyard, which turns off the back row ability to use the Escape of Unchained. Now if you use Escape to pop a card in the field, the Soul of Rage will not be reborning itself on the field. So you're gonna have to choose, do I want to make a Little Knight linking off of the opponent's monster to then also get another banish, so double banish and a link, or pop 1 card in the field? It's like a triple disruption package or 1 pop, but sometimes that 1 pop could be a lot better. We also have a monster negate on the Phantom of Yubel, +2 on the Apollo, Imperm, and the Effect Veiler. This will be incredibly difficult to play through. Let me fix up the scores here from the previous match. I'm sorry about that. As we are now summoning our Bestial Lubellion, triggering the Druiswarm to send the Apollo USA to the graveyard, as we, of course, negate. Now, the biggest counter to Apollo is simply attacking into her, but the Nightmare Pain is protecting her from being attacked into because you're forced to attack into Yubel. Hard once per turn, Bestial Lubellion attempting to set up the Branded Regain from the deck. Of course, we're negating that as we follow up with the Emblema Oath, setting up our stand-up Centurion. Discard a card to set up a Centurion Trudea into the back row, special summoning herself onto the field, to then activate, to then put herself into the back row, to then set another card from the deck into the back row. We're going to cross out Designate, negate the Impermanence Mate. We're going to chain the Soul of Rage to link off with the Trudea. Now, if we read Trudea, many other card effects would still use most of its effect, even though she's not going into the back row. She wants to go into the back row and wants to set up a Centurion, the Primera, into the back row. So let's read how this works. This states that you're going to place this card and a Centurion from your hand or deck into your spell and trap zone. So what do you think? It's going to get linked off, but it's doing both things at the same time, right? It goes in the back row and we have a Centurion. Well, the way it's worded, it has to happen at the same time. And if it doesn't, you do not set up a Centurion monster from your hand or deck. So this is a relevant disruption. This will stop the Trudea. We're now not going to get a Primera into the back row. Just like that, Little Knight on summon. We're going to be activating to banish a card on the field or in the graveyard. Did we take up the Wake Up Centurion? You know, maybe that's not that big of a deal anymore. The stand-up, that is. We're still taking it out. On summon, get banishing. Baldrake, banishing to the opposing player's graveyard. Spirit of Yubel, we're going to summon our Stardust Synchron, making a Chaos Angel. Now, this Chaos Angel, how is it made? It was made with a light and a dark, thus, it is unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent. So if you Veiler it, no good. We could use Escape to pop it, but it's activating on summon to banish a card in the field. Now, the Phantom of Yubel cheats. Even though you're unaffected from the activate effects of Phantom of Yubel, the card is unaffected, but your effect is not unaffected, so we could change your effect through the effect of Phantom of Yubel even though you're unaffected. Cheating. There you go. We're going to change the effect of the unaffected Chaos Angel. Sure. Makes sense. As we pop a Yubel from the deck instead of banishing, we're then going to summon a Yubel from the deck. Is that a BS ruling or what? The reason why you could say it's BS is I can't negate the effect, but I could change the effect. Aren't both things affecting the effect? But negating the effect is considered affecting the card. Changing the effect is not considered affecting the card? Sure. We're going to be tributing off the Hieratic Seal through the effect of the Stardust Synchron to trigger the Hieratic Seal to summon from the deck. Also Chainlink block it with the Stardust Synchron as we then get Veilered, so we do not get to add a spell/trap that mentions Stardust Dragon, which would be the Stardust Illumination spell. I believe that's what it is. It then sends a Stardust card from the deck to the grave, summoning from the deck a Red Eye's Darkness Metal, reborning our Durastorm, further Shokaning into a Dissipator. We are doing very well to break this field. And as I said, the Escape Within Chain not activatable because the Yamo is banished in the grave through Abystial. We're now going to use the Dissipator. So what would you want to do here? Should you negate the Little Knight by returning a banished card, or should you destroy the Little Knight? Well, if you destroy the Little Knight, similar to the Trudea, if this card does not get banished with the card it's banishing, if it's targeting itself, it's not going to banish. Now, if one of the cards aren't affected, we'll still banish the other target. So by destroying it, you're now not going to be banishing the Dissipator, as we see here, targeted for banishment, get poppin', wiped out, Dissipator stays in the field. And we have the Dissipator reborning our Stardust Synchron. Well, we have to swing in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What the hell? All that? Just summoning defense, man. Chaos Space. We now have Wyvern Burster unbanned. We're going to be playing this to not only search for Wyvern Burster, but we have Bestial Lubellion. What the heck is this? The Branded Beast can pop a card in the field within the main phase by tributing off a dragon, but only while we control a Bestial, which we do through the Baldrake. We have the Effect Veiler, which will negate. We have the Ash Blossom will negate. We have the Regained, which will reborn the Dissipator if the opponent summons, which will be another negate. And then with 4 Disruption, what else do we have here? We have the Shooting Majestic Star. Once per turn, this is the spell speed 1 effect. We don't care about that. This is the real one, the 3rd effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you could banish this card. And if you do, negate the activation and banish that card. A negate and banish. Now, there's a big problem with this card. It doesn't banish itself as a cost. It banishes itself as an effect. So let's say there's a Little Knight on the field. Little Knight could chain banish the Majestic Star Dragon as it's attempting to negate something, and then it wouldn't negate because it would not then banish itself. It would get banished to the Little Knight. So it's not as good as a Blazard Dragon, but it's still pretty damn good. But negating and banishing, that is a great effect in itself. We have the Regain triggering to reborn from the graveyard, the Dissipator. Do we use our Ash Blossom to negate? Of course we do, mate. Negate. And did I forget to say Baldrake is a disruption? I think I did. So we have 6 disruptions, now down to 4. Negate, negate. The Lotus Mate is a hard once per turn, so now Yubel's going to have to figure out a way to get it back on the field, but first make it leave the field, and we could easily do so through the Grave Squirmer. Squirmer, if we can get it to the graveyard, oh, we're returning it back in the deck to summon a Phantom of Yubel. Baldrake is going to banish. Phantom of Yubel is going to negate the Baldrake banish, and we have Shooting Majestic Star Dragon, negating the negate. Negate. Now, there's nothing to banish, so the Phantom of Yubel is not going to get banished from the graveyard. It has to be banished from where it was activating. We have the Branded Beast activating to pop the Nightmare Throne on activation. Ain't no way. Wipe that fool out. And we still have our Dissipator negate, which we didn't even use. So we used up 5 disruptions with 1 left over as the Shooting Majestic Star Dragon is now back. Well, could Super Poly fuse with the field here? We have a wind, we have a dark, we have a light. Generally, if you have different attributes, you are protected from the Super Poly. We now have a dark and a dark. As we then go into a Chaos Angel, which is dark. So the Dissipator and the Chaos Angel will be fused into. As we attempt to banish that Super Poly, we're going to chain Super Poly, fusing up with that Chaos Angel and Dissipator, which will trigger the Regain to reborn the Dissipator back in the field. So that's fine. Mood Dragon, untargetable, does not matter. As we now regained it up, Dissipator right back in the field. Mood Dragon activating to make dark monsters completely untargetable and also changing its own attribute, which means absolutely nothing here. As we set up the Trudea, Stardust Illumination, summon our Stardust Synchron. Now, the Illumination has a different effect if you control a Stardust monster. If you control a Stardust Dragon, you could special summon the monster instead of sending it from the deck to the grave. we're gonna make a repair. How do you even say that? A redabear. A redabear. If this destroys a monster by battle, you can banish that monster. And what else does it do? Yeah, I think it had some other cool effect. Konami, can I read the card, please? When your opponent activates a monster effect, banish a Dragooni monster from your graveyard, negate the activation, and banish. You can only use each effect hard once per turn. So monster negate, destroy a monster by battle, banish the opposing monster. And then if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Very cool. We have Centurion, Bestial, Dragoonity as we hop into game number 3. D-Lotus, summon from the deck our Spirit of Yubel, Imperm negate. This does run the risk of them having a Squirmer to chain summon, pop the Spirit of Yubel to dodge the impermanence, but the Squirmer is not generally played at 3, and we can double check that on the website here. Let's see. Squirmer, spelled it correctly. It is played mostly at 2. A very small percent are playing it at 3, so worth the risk. Just 2. We have a Phantom of Yubel, Maxi, and Ash Blossom. Surely we can break this field. I'm not a big fan of Phantom of Yubel being in attack position if you don't have a Nightmare Pain, because if it gets negated, it's now 0 attack pathway to your life points. We're going to tune it up, add from our deck a Synchron monster to the middle of the top card of our deck. We now have the stand-up Centurion. This is not ashable, as we grab a Gargoyle. Assault Synchron is a special summon into the Maxi, and the big question is, can we take the Maxi challenge? Gargoyle going to chain special summon before the resolution of the Maxi, thus they draw one less card for our special summons. Are we cooking? Are we cooking? We're going to get negated by Ash Blossom, and just like that, we have to make the very difficult decision of, through a Phantom of Yubel, which can negate a monster, do we go in for game? We're going to make an Auxilla. Auxilla on summon is going to be searching the deck. Oh, hold on, we're on YouTube. I can't do the flame music. Whoop, we almost got copyright striked. Whoa, that was close. All right, Gargoyle, add from the graveyard back to the hand, which will chain link block the Auxilla from an Ash Blossom being used. Of course, we're not taking a full Maxi challenge, as the Phantom of Yubel negates the effect of the Auxilla from being able to set up a Centurion card that's banished in the graveyard into our back row, as the Spirit of Yubel is going to be destroyed to summon a Yubel from the deck. Now, with the Super Poly, we could fuse up with the entire field if we would like to do so. Get ready. We have the Nightmare Pain, popping Yubel to grab the Squirmer, triggering the Yubel to summon from the deck a Terror Incarnate. As we then Squirmer special summon itself onto the field, not popping the Terror Incarnate, as we then make a Cross Sheep. Now we do have the Phalanx ready and waiting to banish that Cross Sheep before it attempts to even special summon, which you could chain banish it on its activation and then it would not be able to summon, because on the resolution it will check to what it's pointing to. As we now have a Spirit of Yubel searching for the Eternal Favorite, making a Phantom of Yubel to reflect double 3,000 damage, as we then Super Poly within the battle phase, fusing with just the Assault Synchron and our Spirit of Yubel to summon a Loving Defender, which is a double damage reflect. First going to burn for 1k, reflect 3k, and reflect another 3k. Yubel for game. Damn.